So Sangraha means collecting or gathering, but interestingly it means kind disposition, kindliness, sympathy, friendliness, help, assistance, protection and favour. And Vastu means simply object or item. So we could translate Sangrahavastus as the means of gathering people together in kindness, sympathy, friendliness, help, assistance, protection and favour. Thank you. And also Sangara also means inclusion. I like that, you know, it's inclusive, yeah. So where do we find teachings of the Four Samgrahavastus in the Buddhist literature? Well, we find it in the Pali Canon, in a sutta called the Hataka Sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya. And Hataka was a lay practitioner and teacher who lived with his family in Avali, and he had quite a big Sangha. He had a Sangha of his own of 500 followers. So I thought I'd read an extract for you from that sutta. Once, the Buddha was staying outside Avali. Hataka, who lived with his family in the town, came with 500 friends and followers to see the Buddha. All were practicing Buddhists who had achieved insight, and they bought flowers and sandalwood powder for the Buddha. The Buddha said, "This following of yours, Hataka, is very large. How do you keep united?" "My teacher," replied Hataka, "it is by the four means of unification, which you taught me, that we keep united. When I know that I can make a connection with someone through generosity, then I use generosity. When I know I can make a connection with someone through kind speech, then I use kind speech. When I know I can make a connection with someone through beneficial activity, then I use beneficial activity. And when I know I can make a connection with someone through exemplification, then I use exemplification. Sadhu, sadhu, Hataka. This is just the way to unify a large following. Whoever has done this in the past has used these four means of unification, likewise in the future and the past. So then we also find the teaching of the Samgrahavastus in the Vimalakirti Nidesha, the Mahayana Sutta, the Vimalakirti Nidesha. So you will know, those of you who've studied it, that Vimalakirti is a wealthy man and an enlightened practitioner who lived in Vaishali in northern India. He was also an exemplar of building Sangha. He was really, really the best at building Sangha. And he was ever so skilled in attracting and in supporting people from many different backgrounds. He was especially adept at relating with people on their own terms through the application of what Sangharakshita calls skillful means. So I also thought I'd read you a bit from that too. So this is about Vimalakirti. He's quite a guy. He wore the white clothes of a layman, yet lived impeccably like a religious devotee. He lived at home, but remained aloof from the realm of desire, the realm of pure matter, and the immaterial realm. He had a son, a wife, and female attendants, yet always maintained continence. He appeared to be surrounded by servants, yet lived in solitude. He made his appearance at the fields of sport and in the casinos, but his aim was always to mature those people who were attracted to games and gambling. He visited fashionable heterodox teachers, yet always kept unswerving loyalty to the Buddha. He understood the mundane and transcendental sciences and esoteric practices, yet always took pleasure in the delights of the Dharma. He mixed in all crowds, yet was respected as foremost of all. In order to be in harmony with people, he associated with the elders, with those of middle age and the young, yet always spoke in harmony with the Dharma. He engaged in all sorts of business, yet had no interest in profit or possessions. To train living beings, he would appear at crossroads, on street corners, and to protect them, he participated in government. To establish drunkards in correct mindfulness, he entered all the cabarets. To develop children, he visited the schools. So you get a sense that he just went out there, didn't he, and engaged with whoever. So this is what Bhante has to say about this word skillful means. So Vimalakirti employed skillful means. And what Bhante describes this as being is that this is all about a matter of being able to be with people, of empathizing with them and encouraging them to be open with you and to you. Vimalakirti's aim was to lead people towards enlightenment and to enlist their cooperation in enabling others to do so. So what he was trying to do was to enlist the cooperation of many types of people in building a Buddha land for the benefit of all. Okay, so what are these four Samgrahavastus? So the first one, which we're going to look at a bit later, is generosity or dana. The second is kindly speech or priyavadita. The third is beneficial activity or artacharya. So what beneficial activity are activities that benefit people in that they help them to grow and develop. And finally, the fourth Samgravavastu is samanarthata or exemplification. Exemplifying the Buddhist path. And there's quite a lot to say about that one on the last of our series of four. So if you can imagine being in a place where people are being generous, talking to each other in a kindly way, doing things that help people to grow and develop, and are role models for each other and bring the best out of each other, you can imagine that this would create a very positive atmosphere. And indeed, these four Samgravavastus create a field of abundance and positivity where the Sangha can grow. where beings can grow and become Buddhas, where they collectively become a Buddha field and participate in the co-creation of that Buddha field. So who is it who practices the Samgrahavastus then? Who is it? Is it the MBC team? Is it the elders? It's all of us. It's all of us. So if we want to have a happy, healthy Sangha, then we need to cultivate it, feed it, and nourish it. We need to create and contribute to, along with everybody else, to the conditions that will support beings, that is each other, to unfold and develop. And we need it, don't we? It's not easy to change and practice the Dharma on our own. Yeah, because in many ways we're going against the tide of society. So over the next 4 weeks, we're going to look at each of the Samgrahavastus. We're going to look at what they are, what they consist of, and how we can apply them in our daily lives, and the practice of spiritual friendship, including during these particular times of lockdown, when we aren't able to be in the same room as each other. How, given the conditions we find ourselves in, can we ensure that our community flourishes? The Samgrahavastus still apply whether we're in a pandemic lockdown or not. In fact, perhaps even more. And it seems to me to be a great opportunity to be creative. Perhaps we'll need to dig deep to more consciously reflect on how important Sangha is to us. And this may well increase our appreciation for Sangha and community and friendship in our spiritual lives. Within the context of the Samgrahavastus then, generosity or dana is a way of establishing positive contact between people. It's a way of creating and enabling friendship, or spiritual friendship in particular. And it's about, we give because we like people, not because we should. You know, we want to give because we want to express appreciation for them. We might want to express fondness for them, but it's not in a calculating way to bring about particular results. At least, you know, that's what we're aiming for. Yeah, and often our motives can be a bit mixed. So I'll come back to that. So we're giving to people on the basis of fondness and metta, and also, of course, our awareness of them. Yeah. Perhaps our positive feelings towards them. And also to say, really importantly, that giving in the context of the Sangha is on the basis of a sense of inner fullness. Yeah. It's not we should give and we have to sort of, you know, give until it hurts. Yeah. We're not trying to do that. What we're trying to do is, because we're brimming over with appreciation or affection or love or maybe gratitude that they perhaps are your friend, or that they may have supported you or helped you. Maybe they've helped us to understand a particular Dharma teaching and how it applies to our lives. So I can think of people in my life like this, you know, people here on this screen now, you know, I'll just say that Diane Andy has been such a generous friend to me. She's given me hours of her life. Yeah. Listen to me go on. Yeah. She's let me cry on her shoulder quite a few times, or on her doorstep. So we did a spectacular crying on the doorstep the other day. It's called a lockdown cry. It was very beautiful and helped me a lot. Because I've been managing a family crisis this week, you see, so it's been a bit tricky. You know, maybe that someone has helped you to understand something about yourself that nobody else has been able to do. Some people are able, aren't they, to sort of say difficult things to us, but in a way that we can hear it. But they may have taken a risk to do that. It's generous of them. But often I find myself wanting to give to people because I just love them, or I feel very warmly towards them, and there's no other reason other than I feel very warmly towards them. So I've been making a cake every week, and this cake has become my dana practice with the local Sangha. So I make a cake, I chop it up, and I deliver it to my friends because I want to, because I love them. I don't know how else to give at the moment, if you like, in a practical way. Yeah. And also means I get to have a cake, and I can only have 2 pieces so I don't get overweight by eating a whole cake. So it's not completely pure, my motive. Yeah. So within the Samgrahavastus, giving, Sangharakshita says that giving is a form of communication. He also says, Sangharakshita, that the spiritual community is characterized by a constant exchange, so both giving and receiving, of presents and gifts between its members. So we don't give in order to receive, well, at least when our minds are completely pure, yeah. We don't give in order to receive, but just because we feel like it, because we're expressing our feelings, our metta for others by giving. Now, of course, our motives may be mixed. They may not be completely pure, because mixed up with our longing to give, we may actually want a person to like us a bit more, or we may feel like giving, but also be bothered about what that person or other people will think. Will they think I'm a bit soft? Will they think I'm being manipulative? And you might be worried that you're not sure if the gift will be appreciated, yeah? Or if it's good enough, or if it'll be misunderstood and misconstrued. So what do we do? Well, Bhante is very clear. Don't wait until your motives are completely pure. Get on with it. If you feel like giving, give. Take a risk and give. We will probably all have slightly mixed motives this side of enlightenment because we've got a self involved. And when we give, of course, we go beyond our limited self-centered perspective of the world. You know, we can think, can't we, that we're all the center of the world, but actually we're only the center of our world. And we're all having that experience of all being the center of our world. So when we give and go out to another person, it breaks that down. It breaks the barriers between us and other people. Yeah. Bhante said once that we should give until we swoon with joy. Give until we swoon with joy. I really love that expression. And actually, chemically, that is what happens. So those, you know, some of you will know I'm quite into neuroscience. So when we give, we make serotonin, which is the chemical you make when you go out in the sunshine and the light that makes you feel good. Yeah. Yeah. And we make it. Yeah, the person who does the giving makes that chemical. Yeah. Okay, so what is it that we can give then? So I really wish we were in a room and we could all have a chat. Would you mind unmuting us, please, Sandeep, for a minute? Thank you. So what sort of stuff can we give then, folks? Just say if you want to wave and then say it. Wave and say it. What sort of things can we give? Sila Bodhi.
Well, the one I love from the Buddha's teaching is giving fearlessness.
Yeah.
It's more valuable than almost anything, in my opinion. But also extremely difficult to do, even more so if you feel fear yourself.
Yeah, so we can give fearlessness or confidence or encouragement. Carry on, Tara.
Time. I think time, bearing people in mind and giving time to be with them or connect with them or talk with them or send them a message or whatever. Time.
I agree. Thank you. Who else? What else can we give?
I think
Robin.
connected to that is...
Who said that?
Undivided attention.
Hi, Kerry. So yes, undivided attention. Thanks, Kerry. I can't quite see you because it's quite dark where you are, so I'm really sorry.
I'm an hour ahead of you. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I'm going to try. And Robin, do you want to unmute yourself, Robin?
I was going to say undivided attention as well, so I've got to come up with something else. So I'm going to come up with kindness.
That's right. We can give kindness. Yeah?
Yeah.
Stiridoti, was that a wave?
It wasn't really. I was adjusting my volume, but you can give money.
Yeah.
Physical
That's
resources
good.
of all kinds.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Who else?
Got one.
Diane Andy.
I might have missed this. You might have already said this, but you could just give your presence, can't you? Being present.
Yeah, you can.
That's a big gift.
It's a huge gift. Yeah. Upeksha Priya.
You can just make someone a cup of tea. I can make someone a cup of tea when I'm making my own cup of tea and include them in my life.
Right. Yeah. That's lovely. Very inclusive, and it does a lot of cup of tea, doesn't it? It communicates a lot when we make a cup of tea. Yeah. Care for the other person. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think we've had nearly all of the ones that were on my list. Yeah. Material things, being that money or other resources, energy, time, attention, undivided, fearlessness. That for me, that also includes confidence and faith and encouragement and belief in the person and their capacity to practice the Dharma. I've noticed in my own spiritual life, but I often see this in people I meet, particularly on retreats, that people can be so unconfident that they can do the Dharma. Like everybody else in the world can practice the Dharma and will be changed by it, but not me, because there's something flawed with me. Does anybody relate to that, or has anyone ever related to that? No. Wow, yeah. So some people know that one, yeah? So I think my own experience is that what we most need from each other is masses of encouragement. Yeah. Masses of encouragement. Yeah. And then we can give the Dharma. The Dharma is an incredibly precious resource to give people. You've all had it, haven't you? Somebody's shared the Dharma with you. And look where you are now, hey? Yeah, the impact it's had. And we can give ourselves, as Diane Andy said. Yeah. I think something I just wanted to drop in here is we will all have our own stories about being generous. Yeah, like our own sort of things that we were brought up with about generosity, giving and also receiving. So for some of us, it's easier to give than receive. But what would happen if there weren't any receivers? It would be very hard for the givers to give. So there's also a practice of receiving gracefully, allowing and enabling people to give. Yeah. So I just dropped that in as a little idea. So we can really help each other to give by receiving open-heartedly and without any sense of obligation. Oh no, they've given me something, I'll have to give them something back. Yeah, some people grow up with that. So I wanted to share with you now a little bit of my own experience of being on the receiving end of giving, and then you'll get an opportunity as well. So, oh gosh, when I started to have a little brainstorm about this, I wrote down there's been so many over the years, and I wouldn't be here with you now if it wasn't because of the generosity of many, many, many people in the Sangha. Without friends, without the Sangha, near and far. So this last week I've been dealing with a serious family crisis, and without my friends I would not have managed. So what have they given me? They've given me time, they've given me energy, they've given me fearlessness and encouragement to hang on in there. It's been one of the most frightening things I've ever had to deal with. And of course, it's all going on in lockdown, isn't it? So over the years, and sorry, I'll just come back to that. So also this week, people have given me expert advice about how to handle the crisis. I've been able to consult people in the movement who are experts in mental health services, and they've pointed me in the right direction. So Jill has really helped me, and Robin's really helped me, and Prasadu. They've been amazingly helpful, helping me to access and understand a bit more about what's going on in the situation. Lots of people have been sending me messages to say, how are you doing? It doesn't take much, just a message that says, how are you doing? You know you're being held in someone else's heart when they send that message. I know that people have been sending me metta and have been including me in their metta bhavana practice. And strangely, so does my son, who's the person who's having the crisis. So does he. So that is really amazing. I haven't told him. Something's happened that he knows that himself. So, during lockdown, so who would have thought that we'd still be here nearly 10 weeks on? I live on my own in a really lovely apartment, quite near the women's community and also to Karunatara, Sila Bodhi and Shakyajata. And actually, I'm a really big extrovert, if you haven't guessed. And I don't like it, really, all this not being able to see my mates. But people have been really kind. Stira Jyoti's we've been having phone calls twice a day. That is a big ask. But it's very kind, and he's generously offered and agreed to that. And, we've been having socially distancing walks. People have been inviting me to connect. And then I've also noticed that we've all been sharing links and resources with one another. So all the stuff on the BuddhistCenter.com, the Dharma tools courses. Do you know what I mean by the Dharma tools? Yeah. And some of us have been on the Wabi Sabi retreat together. I think 7 women from Manchester did that retreat together. And there were very, very well over 100 people on it. And all the resources for that were created by somebody from a basis of generosity. So in the past, the time and energy of friends, their encouragement, their feedback, like Robin said, their willingness to engage in difficult conversations, Mitra study. So Kalyana Prabha taught me Mitra study. In her own time, we all do it in our own time. She did it for years, and she was one of the only 2 order members in Manchester then, only 2 women. And still when I see her, I find myself wanting to bow to her because she taught me the Dharma. So she taught me the Dharma, which is the most precious tool we can possibly share with anybody at all, because it changes lives and helps people to be happier and healthier and to find meaning. Somebody taught us all to meditate. They didn't have to. They did it on the basis of generosity. And a lot of friends helped me move house this year to my flat. And when I've had surgery on my eyes or my knee, friends have been there. So Stira Jyoti Karanatara, to name but a few. So here's a question for us then. What I'd like us to consider is, what is the sweet spot of your generosity? Which means, what's the limit of our giving? How far can we go? So nobody expects you to make yourself a pauper by giving. That's not what I'm talking here about, all right? We're not trying to be martyrs. But we will have a point in which we can't go beyond, or we feel like we can't go beyond. So we're going to have some time in groups again. And these are the questions this time. So the first question is, how far can you go with giving? And the questions will appear in there. The questions will be in the chat box, which you can look at when you're in your breakout rooms. The second question is, what do you find easy to give? And what helps you to give? And what stops you from giving? So there might be some people you think are deserving of giving, and there might be some people who you think are not. So let's be as honest as we can. Sweet spot, where do we get to, and what gets in the way of us going any further? So what stops you from giving? And right now, including in lockdown, how could you give a little bit more? How could you give a little bit more? Try and be specific here. So my reason for saying that is, it's very easy to say, well, I'm going to be a bit more kind. Or we're all trying to be more kind. See if you can come up with something specific that you're going to do. Yeah. Perhaps try it out in the next week. So we're going to go into our breakout rooms, and we're going to be in 3 or 4s again, I believe. And pick I would look at what's easy and what's hard. See if you can find your sweet spot. And if anything comes to mind to take away, to do or reflect on for the next week. So we're going to have, I think we're having 15 minutes, then we're going to come back and share for the end of the evening.